Hey, Outdoor Legal Warriors. In this video, I'm going to cover the 4 agreements and how you can use the 4 agreements to help you with your criminal case, to help you with your loved one's criminal case, or just to help you with your life. So if you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people will get the help they need. Now, as always, I'm just going to jump right into it. If you've watched this channel for a while, you might realize about 2 years ago, I did a video about the 4 agreements. And given what's going on in today's world, all the stress, all the strife, the population that we serve is particularly troubled. I think the population we exist in is particularly troubled. And driving back from court today, I thought, what really matters to me? What really matters to me is helping others heal, helping others get through the day. And one thing that made a huge difference for me and does make a difference when I share it with my clients is a book that I read a long time ago called The 4 Agreements. That's a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's basically, sort of a guide to life. It's a little bit woo-woo in certain things, but I found it very useful, and that's so useful, I've sewn one agreement into each one of my suits to try to help me get through this stressful time. So in this video, I'm going to cover sort of what that's about, how it is you can use the agreements in a criminal case or to help support your loved one in a criminal case, because this is a criminal law channel, but it also applies to other areas. So what are the 4 agreements? Well, first of all, what's an agreement? I think of an agreement as sort of a rule that you think is true for you. It could be, hey, I don't like mushrooms, so I haven't made an agreement that I don't like mushrooms. That used to be me, right? And whatever power we give to that agreement is how much it controls us. And so one day I decided to try mushrooms. Now I like mushrooms. And so I sort of broke that agreement so that power now can go somewhere else. And that's a simplistic version. It could be you might believe because someone said something mean to you one day that you can't sing, that you're a terrible singer. Maybe your mom was having a bad day when you were a little kid and she said, "Shut up, your voice is terrible." Well, you may have internalized that you have a terrible voice when it may not be true. And so the agreement that you've made with yourself sort of carries that negative way of seeing things, oftentimes about ourselves. It could be about others throughout the world. So it's sort of a way we see the world, oftentimes that can be harmful to us. And so what are the 4 agreements in this book? Well, the ones to sort of live by to help improve the way you see the world, to help improve the way you see stressful situations, and criminal cases are pretty stressful situations. So the 4 agreements, 1 is be impeccable with your word. 2 is to don't make assumptions. 3 is to don't take anything personally. And 4 is to always do your best. Now, I'm going to cover what each one of those means, at least from my point of view. I've listened to that book on audiobook 15 times, 20 times, so hopefully I've got what the author means by now. But I'm just going to sort of go down the line and how this can affect you in the way you're thinking, your emotional health and well-being in dealing with a stressful situation, but particularly in a criminal case. So agreement number 1, be impeccable with your word. Now, that's the hardest one for me. What does that mean? Does that mean keep your word? If you're going to promise to do something, yeah, go ahead and do it. That's not what it means. What it means, according to the author, is sort of your word, the words out of our mouth are the most powerful thing that we have, right? And to be impeccable with your word is don't use your word for evil. Don't speak badly about other people, right? This is a world of gossip, right? Everything we see is gossip. This person did this, this person did this, oh, this person stressed terribly, right? Things like that. And if we use our word in a negative way towards others, not only do we harm them, but we harm ourselves. And again, that's probably the hardest one for me. I was reviewing some writing here of a really valued employee of mine. I read the writing and I was like, I didn't really think it was that great. So I said something like, well, you really mailed this one in, right? And that wasn't very nice. I could have done that differently, and it had a negative effect on that person. And so I didn't live up to that agreement. Be impeccable with my word. Maybe I should have said, hey, I like what you did here, but maybe we can make it a little better, right? And that would have helped them, and it probably would have helped them have a less negative experience when we're going through a stressful situation here in the law firm. So if we're in a criminal matter, where might we say things that could hurt our case? Where might we not be impeccable with our word? Well, we might talk badly about the alleged victim. And maybe the alleged victim was on our side or was willing to try to help us in the case, a domestic violence case, and now they hear something that we said to a friend who's a mutual friend. Maybe we said something, oh, they're a liar, or they're terrible, or they were always drunk, just because we're letting off some steam, right? But that gets back to that victim, and now they're more against us, right? Maybe we say something negative about the prosecutor, right? And maybe that prosecutor overhears that conversation in court, and now the prosecutor's more against you. Maybe you say something negative about or to your attorney, and maybe that attorney isn't so emotionally intelligent, and now they don't work quite as hard for you. But the most important place to be impeccable with our word is about what we say about ourselves, right? We use our word mostly against ourselves. I'm a loser. My life's never going to be better. I deserve what I get, right? And that doesn't help us. It just puts us back farther in a hole. And that's sort of how we're programmed to think. It's important that we try to only speak positively and think positively so the world that we're creating around us is easier for us to deal with and less bad things will happen to us. The most extreme example is how we can be harmed by not being impeccable with our word is maybe what got us into trouble to begin with, right? We're at a bar and someone, chests up to us and we say, go ahead, let's fight. And now you get beat up or now you get charged with a crime. We didn't need to say that. So it's an agreement that's important to try to maintain. So moving on to the second agreement, and I think this one is really important, not only for clients, but also for the people in the legal system, the attorneys and whatnot. It's don't take anything personally. This one, what does that mean? What does that agreement that this author suggests that we live by means? It means that people are always gossiping and saying bad stuff about us even, right? About us and our world. It could be anybody, right? It could be the person honking at you or flipping you off in traffic. And if we take those things personally, it really can get us worked up. It can really get us to react. And it's really unnecessary. I've been in therapy a long time. What my therapists have always told me is, Lance, what anybody thinks about us is none of our business. Right? That's sort of the same type of idea as don't take anything personally. As far as attorneys go, if any attorneys are watching this, sometimes you get an upset prosecutor, a client that's just lashing out about the situation and could say some things that if we took personally would really knock us off our game. I've had things said about me in my career. I don't like how your shoes look. Right? I don't like how your eyes work, I've been told, because I have an eye problem called strabismus. They don't always line up. And if I took that personally, I'd really feel bad about myself. I'd really lash out at that other party, and my life just wouldn't be any better. How does that apply to your criminal case? Well, you're going to have friends and family, right? And I always ask people, what does your partner sound like in this case? Are they trying to help you, or are they mad at you, telling you ruined your life? Now, what does your parents say about this? What does your coworkers say about this? And sometimes people are going to be helpful and sometimes people are going to be harmful. And if we take those harmful words to heart and we take that personally, we're just going to feel worse and we're going to do worse. In the second follow-up book to the 4 agreements, there's a book called The Fifth Agreement. And that one really sort of blew my mind with some examples about the world that we're living in. We're all sort of, according to the author, and this is how I sort of think about it too, we're all living in our own movie, right? Where we are the director, we are the star of our own movie. And all the other players in the movie are just, peripheral pieces. How someone sees us in our movie is different than how we see ourselves. And so we can't control how other people see us. We can only try to influence how we see ourselves. If we don't take things personally, and we realize that they're directing their own movie, that this is about them. If they say something negative about us, it's not really about us. They can't hurt us. We can't take the poison, so to speak, that the author of these books talk about. I'm moving on now to agreement number 3, don't make assumptions. And I think this is the single most important agreement if you have a criminal case that you're dealing with or a loved one is dealing with. If I went with the most important to the least important, this is the one I would have started with. Don't make assumptions. That agreement means, hey, sort of what it sounds like. Don't assume the worst. Don't assume the best. The example the author would use is you've got a child who's 16 years old and he or she is out with their friends. They're supposed to be home at 11:30. It's midnight. They're not home. We might make an assumption they've been in a terrible car accident. They're in the hospital. They're dead. It's probably not true. But if we're making that assumption, immediately think about all the emotional stress that we go through unnecessarily. That is so true even for attorneys in the criminal game, defending people. Now, I've done this for 25 years here pretty soon on the defense side before being a prosecutor for years before. And I remember before I lived by this, don't make assumptions, a client would call and I'd be just worried, what are they mad about? Right? What did I do wrong? And they weren't mad. They just, they might be really happy. But when we live in a world where negative things happen to us, it's all we see on TV, we can easily go to the negative. And that's important that we don't do that in our criminal case if we're charged with a crime. We don't want to make an assumption that the worst is going to happen. Because if we make an assumption that the worst is going to happen, we're going to be put in jail, or the prosecutor's not going to believe us, or the attorney's going to do a bad job, we're not going to get any sleep. We make an assumption our life's over. We're not going to get any sleep. We're not going to be any good for our family. We're not going to be any good for our jobs. We might start drinking. We might be doing things that harm us. It can also go the other way. We don't want to make an assumption that things are going to be super great super soon, because expectation, expected outcome minus observation, observed outcome equals frustration. So you also don't want to make an assumption that way. You want to just sort of listen to what your attorney is telling you, listen to what yourself is telling you, except for assuming really good or really bad, and just realize you're going to wait and see what happens, right? Because the assuming, the living in the future causes anxiety, regret, and pain. Living in the past, future doesn't cause regret. Living in the past is regret, guilt, things like that. We want to live in the present where we can actually do something about what we're going through, because being charged with a crime is one of the most difficult things anyone can ever go through. So please, if you're going through this, try not to make assumptions about what's going to happen. We want to be careful. We want to be diligent, but we don't want to be crystal ball reading and catastrophizing or celebrating too soon. That's really important. And finally, the fourth agreement, as the author goes through, is really what allows us to forgive ourselves when we don't do perfectly. It's always do your best. So according to the author, always do your best means that we're always doing our best. Our best will be better when we're healthy than when we're sick. Our best will be better when we're sober than when we're drunk. Our best will be better when we're fully ambulatory versus we got 2 broken legs, right? So we're always doing our best, and that's all you can do. If you don't get something done right away in your criminal case, try to forgive yourself and get it done as soon as you can at the next time. If you're in a no drinking condition and you consume alcohol, you did your best. Let's not do it in the future, right? Those type of things. If you didn't get something done with your attorney and you're hiding out from the attorney because you don't have your community service done, or you're not able to make a payment, or whatever it might be, just remember you're doing your best. Live in the present, and then forgive yourself and try to get it fixed in the future. That goes for anybody. We're always doing our best, and we're also our worst critic, right? We judge ourselves. We forget that fourth agreement. We can get stuck in a guilt loop and self-pity, and it really doesn't help for us to think about ourselves in that way. So there's lots of different ways we can use those 4 agreements to help ourselves emotionally in the criminal case. And when we help ourselves emotionally, it actually does affect the outcome, right? Many businesses, many organizations, subscribe to similar type ideas. I think they're all the same idea out there, but this is one that resonated with me. If it resonates with you, feel free to buy the book. I don't sell books. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get anything for this. The reason why I put this out there is because I think it's needed in the world. So if you found this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you have a criminal matter in Washington State, you can feel free to reach out to my firm. We've been doing this more than 20 years. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.